Hello, this is Christine Rose Bolayo. On behalf of WFWPI offices for UN Relations in New York, Geneva, and Vienna, I'm happy to share with you our hopeful and productive activities for the month of July. We start in New York, where this year marks the midway point of the UN 2030 Agenda. From July 10 to 19, world leaders gathered at the United Nations in New York for the 2023 High-Level Political Forum on Sustainable Development. It was held under the auspices of the Economic and Social Council. The theme was accelerating the recovery from the coronavirus disease and the full implementation of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development at all levels. On July 18th, WFWPI hosted an in-person and virtual side event at the NYC Social Hall in New York City. Ms. Merle Berlan, Director of WFWPI's Office for UN Relations in New York, opened the event with a roundtable discussion on the topic Integration and Impacts of Digital Technology in Developing Countries in the Context of the Right to Development. The discussion aimed to explore solutions to the challenges faced by developing countries in effectively utilizing digital technology to build sustainable cities and communities. Ms. Shruti Lekha, UN representative of WFWPI, moderated their expert roundtable discussion. Dr. Rior Santos, the Regional Project Manager of the SDG Fund for Digital Transformation in Micronesia for the UN OPS, highlighted digital initiatives that had already demonstrated positive impacts in education, healthcare, and environmental conservation in the region, stressing the importance of collaboration and partnerships as essential drivers of successful implementation. Dr. Frank Kaufman, president of the 12 Gates Foundation, touched upon ethical considerations related to digital technologies such as data privacy, digital rights, and inclusivity. Ms. Priscilla Garces, founder of Always Forward, emphasized the importance of accessibility in digital solutions and called for collaborative efforts among disability advocates, technology developers, and policymakers to ensure inclusivity. Mr. Rodrigo Tello, a fintech consultant from Mexico, explored the transformative potential of financial technology in promoting financial inclusion and economic development in developing countries. Arsha Dutta, a young programmer from India, presented a project that promotes circular fashion called Fashion Shoes, a mobile app that she personally developed addressing problems such as the footprints of pollution left behind by the fast fashion industry. The second part of the event was an SDG exhibit. It provided a platform for exhibitors from 10 civil society organizations to showcase their projects. The side event left a positive and lasting impact, fostering a sense of community and commitment, and forging collaboration and partnerships to achieve the UN SDGs by 2030. You can watch the full video of the event, which is posted in our Facebook, Instagram pages, and YouTube channel. On April 25 to 27, the 2023 ECOSOC Youth Forum held at the United Nations in New York was convened by the ECOSOC President and co-organized by the Department of Economic and Social Affairs and the Office of the Secretary General's Envoy on Youth. The forum provided a unique opportunity for youth leaders to engage with various stakeholders, government representatives, youth delegates, policymakers, and actors from civil society and the private sector participated in dynamic discussions, sharing insights and fostering collaboration. Among the 1,000 youth leaders participants was yours truly, Ms. Christine Rose Bolayo, the Regional Secretary General for WFWP and Asia Pacific, who also served as one of the Youth Forum volunteer staff. Ms. Bolayo met with youth leaders from around the world, as well as the Philippine delegation led by Undersecretary Ronald L. Cardema, the chairman of the National Youth Commission. WFWPI reaffirms its commitment of empowering the youth through education, leadership training at the United Nations, partnerships, and collaborations to raise peace-loving young global leaders. The WFWPI UN representatives in New York launched the monthly WFWPI UN Roundtable Talk to create a bridge to better understand the UN Global Agenda and WFWP constituents in the field. It is a platform for education and information dissemination through discussion and debriefing on current UN global issues. The first episode in May was on the topic of the UN Declaration on the Right to Development, led by Ms. Shruti Lekha from Geneva. The June episode was a debriefing on the ECOSOC Youth Forum led by Christine Rose Bulayo from Asia Pacific. And the July episode was the HLPF side event, which was a roundtable discussion on integration and impact of digital technology in developing countries in the context of the right to development. During the NGO CSW New York's meeting held on June 15, it focused on the future of NGO CSW New York and how we plan to more effectively connect with the different gender processes at the United Nations. Participants heard updates about NGO CSW's work following CSW 67 and participated in a discussion about the future of NGO CSW in New York. The NGO CSW New York wrapped up the meeting and the 2021 to 2023 Executive Committee's term with a farewell from the current chair and a presentation from the new co-chairs, Ms. Ivy Kroek from Sokagakai International and Pamela Morgan from Zonta International. On May 27, the Ambassador and Permanent Representative of the Republic of Cameroon to the United Nations, His Excellency Monte Tomo and his spouse, Madame Therese Tomo, hosted the National Day of Cameroon at the Ambassador's residence in Westchester County, New York. It was graced by some dignitaries, including the Ambassador of the African Union and distinguished Cameroonian community leaders. It was a beautiful day celebrating freedom, friendship, and the prolific Cameroonian cuisine. It was a happy and heartwarming day, a celebration of peace and unity as one big family and community. On June 17, the United Nations African Mothers Association, led by its president, Madame Therese Tomo Monte, organized an online event to celebrate the Day of African Child, with the theme, The Rights of the Child in the Digital Environment. It was a day of honoring and celebrating the children of Africa. Distinguished UN, civil society, and business leaders and children participated in the high-level virtual event. Merle Berlan, director of WFWPI's Office for UN Relations in New York, delivered a speech and reaffirmed WFWP's dedication and commitment to the empowerment and education of African children. She highlighted the work of WFWP Africa and Family Values Education. She also highlighted WFWP USA's School for Africa Fund, WFWP Japan's 10 schools in Africa, which have already graduated more than 20,000 students, as well as poverty eradication and humanitarian service projects. The President of the General Assembly convened his third Town Hall meeting on June 27, 2023 at the Trusteeship Chamber, UNHQ, New York. As part of his ongoing efforts to encourage civil society's participation and valuable contribution to key issues on the agenda of the General Assembly, the third Town Hall was presented as a Q&A with civil society and focused on how the upcoming SDG Summit and the Summit of the Future can contribute to the sustainability transformation and more effective global cooperation that can tackle today's challenges, as well as new threats in the future. The Town Hall meeting was co-organized by the Department of Global Communications, the Office of the President of the General Assembly, the Department of Economic and Social Affairs, and the Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights. On July 21, representatives from NGOs in consultative status with ECOSOC, civil society, academic institutions, and the private sector participated in the interactive multi-stakeholder dialogue on Africa's development at the Trusteeship Chamber at the UN headquarters in New York. Attendees discussed the main findings and recommendations contained in the report of the Secretary General on the review of the implementation of commitments made towards Africa's development. Christine Rose Bulayo, Rachel Beth Tamayo, and Shruti Lekka represented WFWPI in the dialogue, with Ms. Shruti Lekka delivering a statement on behalf of WFWPI. For our UN team activities in Vienna, on June 28, the NGO Committee on Peace in Vienna, led by the Chair of the Committee on Peace and the Director of WFWPI UN Relations Office, Dr. Maria Riel, hosted the Vienna Online Information and Discussion Meeting on Peace, Women, and the Environment, Actions Towards New Beginnings. The keynote speaker was Caroline Henshin, the President of the NGO CSW Geneva, and the Director of the WFWPI UN Relations Offices. It was attended by various leaders from the civil society. WFWPI UN representative in Vienna, author of the Moonlight Solar Lamp Project, Mrs. Merle Blaschke, together with solar lamp innovator Mr. Jess Juliano, met with the representatives of the Provincial Government Office of Pangasinan, Philippines on July 14, 2023 at the provincial capital. They met with Mr. Von Mark Mendoza, the Chief of the Provincial Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Office, and the Provincial Engineering Office to discuss the proposed tri-party partnership between the WFWP Austria, then Key Heroes of Bohol, and the province of Pangasinan on the implementation of the Moonlight Solar Lamp project. Mrs. Blaschke and Mr. Hoyano presented the completed prototype of the Moonlight Solar Lamp. The meeting was made possible by the gracious support of Ambassador Evangelina Lourdes Arroyo Bernas, the Philippines Ambassador to Austria, with the coordination of the Department of Foreign Affairs in the Philippines. Let's head over to Geneva for our UN team activities there. On the 1st of June, the Global Day of Parents Conference in the theme, The Role of Parents in Creating a Peaceful and More Secure Society and World, was held in the United Nations Palace of Nations, Geneva. The conference was organized jointly by the UN offices in Geneva of UPF and the Women's Federation for World Peace International and partners. The conference was held to raise awareness about the important role that parents assume as key educators of their children. The speakers were experts from UN agencies, including the WHO, UNODC, academia, religion, and NGOs. The second conference in the series of No Peace Without Women was held on 13th of June 2023 at the Parliament in Pristina, Kosovo. Sponsors and partners were the Kosovo Office of the Prime Minister and the Europe and Middle East branches of WFWPI UN Office, UPF, and the International Association of First Ladies for Peace. The conference opened with an address from the Prime Minister of Kosovo, His Excellency Albin Kurti, His Excellency Liza Gashi, Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs, and His Excellency Emilia Redzepi, Deputy Prime Minister. The event was attended by 120 leaders, 12 of whom were ambassadors from different nations of Europe and the Balkans. There were messages of concern and support coming from the head of the UN Economic Commission for Europe in Geneva, Olga Algayurova, and Nobel laureate Ellen Sirleaf-Johnson. The founder of WFWP and UPF, Dr. Hak Ja Han-moon, is presently calling for a greater focus on peace, education for mothers. It is mothers who naturally shape the values and beliefs of their children. Therein lies the hope of instilling a culture of peace that starts in the home and promotes the shared leadership between women and men. This is especially important in countries like Kosovo, where traditional family values are deeply ingrained. The No Peace Without Women conference has received strong support from political leaders, providing evidence of the growing recognition of the need to involve women in peace processes and helping to amplify the voices of women regarding the importance of a holistic approach to establish more inclusive and sustainable peace agreements. Thank you so much for listening to the WFWPI UN News. Until next time with another set of amazing updates regarding the upcoming Human Rights Council in Geneva, the Youth Summit in New York, and exciting events in Vienna. You can look for a detailed read of the current news on our website, wfwp.org, under the UN Newsletter section. Until next time, this is Christine Rose Bolayo wishing you a wonderful and productive summer. Thank you so much.